What's going on, everybody? This is Daniel Harms at the RGR Football Channel, film analyst here, and we're going to talk a little bit today about some things that got brushed under the rug that really shouldn't have from the game on Sunday against the Bengals. Players that have become important cogs for this team, specifically on offense. I'm going to try my best to stay away from the defensive side of the football because it's really just an angering subject right now. I think we're going to see a bounce back performance on Saturday against the Broncos, but right now I want to focus on some things that really, like I said, got brushed under the rug that came out of this game that should be focused on a little bit more. And like I said, players that have become important in this season, guys that have stepped up in some major spots, and without them, I think would be in a much bigger world of hurt. We're going to start off with Blake Bell. Okay, Blake Bell allows this team to be very multiple because you can have the two tight end sets that the Andy Reid wants to use, that they were using, Fortson for early. Jody Fortson was a hugely important part of this team, and I'm very, very upset that he's no longer here because when you have three tight ends on the field with Travis Kelce, Blake Bell, and Jody Fortson, you have guys that are all over 6'6", okay? All of them. And they're not terribly unathletic. I think we saw on Sunday specifically, Blake Bell can make some catches. He can get you some run after the catch ability. He can actually go win you some balls down the field a little bit. Unfortunately, that one was taken back because of a penalty. But what he's able to do right now, his run blocking has been much improved, more so than we've seen specifically 2 years ago. I think that he did a much better job of really coming on strong right here. Like his run blocking grade is over 70 on PFF. I know you don't just reference grades, but it's very important because they've been able to run a much more balanced running game in terms of zone and gap schemes. Those power runs that you see where you have the tight ends pulling or you have the guards pulling, he's allowed them to run more, and they're more successful running downhill when Blake Bell is on the field. And specifically yesterday would have been one of his best performances just overall in the season, with even just catching the ball, because he did have some very impressive, they drew up a screen to him. He had two downfield catches that would have been really, really impressive for him on the day, but like I said, one got called back. But still, Blake Bell has become a very important part of this team. And with Travis Kelce and Blake Bell and Noah Gray a little bit, you're starting to see some of the juices flowing on offense. I think that they're doing a good job of getting everybody involved that's pretty much on the roster outside of the low-end wide receivers that really don't necessarily deserve to be on the field as much, like Marcus Kemp. But like I said, just the importance of having a number two tight end that can block as well as he has in the run game, and even in the passing game a little bit. He's been okay in pass protection. He's not great, but I think that he's been solid for most of the season outside of on Sunday. I think he had some reps against Trey Hendrickson where he couldn't hold zone, which I mean, I'm not going to ask a tight end to hold zone against a really good pass rusher. So it's very important that we focus on some of these guys that don't get a lot of praise, because Blake Bell has allowed them to become so multiple and allow them to stay multiple like they want to be. Jody Fortson would be like the other cog in this team that would truly unlock it. I believe having that type of an athletic tight end who was improving as a blocker, who's able to win 50-50 balls down the field. Mahomes was starting to do that a little bit more with him, and unfortunately it's just pretty much been taken out of this offense. So next year when he's back, honestly, I'm okay bringing Blake Bell back. If they can find a way to maybe get a different blocking tight end, that's different, but Blake Bell knows the system. I'm pretty comfortable with him in this team. He's still relatively young. He was drafted in 2015, so he's got experience in the league, experience on the Chiefs, and I think that's going relatively unnoticed, and I definitely wanted to shout him out because he's been playing very well, and it goes unnoticed because he just does a lot of dirty work that no one wants to do, being that blocking tight end that can also allow you to scheme some things up for, because like I said, that screen that he had was actually very well done, and he was able to get some yards. He probably should have scored a touchdown had he cut to the right instead of cut to the left, but that's why he's not a running back. So yeah, Blake Bell really helping unlock the running game in this team, getting some of those zone schemes with the gap scheme, has really done a good job. Now we're going to get over to the running game, okay? You guys know how I feel, okay? I've already made my feelings known. But this run game is really what it comes down to, for me at least. I love being able to see them do both gap scheme and the zone scheme. On Sunday they ran, I think it was 18 schemed up runs, and it was 9 and 9. So you have 9 zone scheme and 9 gap power. Like, that's what they should be doing. Maybe a little bit more gap, because I think they're better at it at this point. The offensive line's not great in the zone stuff so much right now, because the running backs aren't the types that are going to be able to always find that cutback line. I think that Darrel Williams on Sunday did a very good job of finding those, as well as Derrick Gore. That one big run that he had, he was able to find that cutback lane across the field and get nearly a touchdown. So right now, I think you're seeing the fruits of the offensive line labor and helping these guys who are unheralded, undrafted, guys that you just keep on seeing on the roster and continuing to outperform their expectations. Darrel Williams has done that time and time again. And I know that a lot of people will want him to be the starter. And right now, he's playing like the starting running back on this team, regardless of the timeshare split. It doesn't matter. I think Darrel Williams has shown time and time again. He's about to break 1,000 yards from scrimmage this year as the number 2 guy. Like, that's exactly what you want to have if you need that situation. The problem is that the Chiefs decided they were going to draft a running back in the first round 2 years ago. That's one of the big problems with this whole thing. If you want to have these undrafted guys come into a system that's running back friendly, that can be running back friendly like this, there's no point in drafting the guy high. So I'm going to have that whole rant that I almost got on right now on the members channel. Make sure you guys check that out if you're members. If you're not, you can become one. You just got to go to the RGR page and find the link. That's only if you want to. You don't have to. No, it's not a big deal. But it's going to be very... what's the word I want to use? It's not going to be safe for work. There's going to be a lot more of my own personality and my own fandom in this rant coming up this week. So I hope you guys that are members enjoy that. But back to the run game, like I said, being much more multiple, being able to have Blake Bell come in, being able to use more of Michael Burton. He was on the field more. He's being involved more. Having a 2 tight end set, or even just a 1 tight end set attached with a fullback, and being able to run the ball when teams know that you're going to run the ball. For the most part, that's hugely important in closing out games and winning games in the postseason. I know that the numbers say otherwise, but we've seen time and time again, if you can't run the ball effectively when you do it, teams don't respect it. Teams only focus on the pass. And with this team that wants to get to their RPOs, that want to get more involved down the field, there were a couple plays where they strung a couple long runs together, like 10 plus yards in a row, and they went right back to it, and then they didn't get the yards they needed. They got lost on the down. Right there, you can use a bit of play action, because when you watch those plays back, the defense was expecting a run. Okay, so now you have to be able to use true under center play action with a fullback, like an athletic guy like Michael Burton, with a Blake Bell. You can really move those linebackers and those defensive ends out of the way with these play action passes after chunk runs. So I just want to shout out Derrick Gore, Darrel Williams, guys that I haven't given a ton of credit to, because I'm still upset about the situation that the Chiefs have put themselves in. But Darrel Williams and Derrick Gore deserve a ton of credit for what they've done. It just goes to show you that you can find talent at running back literally anywhere in the draft process, in the free agent process. There's always going to be guys out there. Also, a small shout out to Jerick McKinnon, who came back this week, really played well in pass protection, which was all they asked him to do. So good job on him. And the very last guy we're going to talk about today is Nick Allegretti. I know that all the headlines go to Joe Thuney for coming from left guard to left tackle and holding his own. I will say that Thuney had some rough snaps, which, like I said, I don't expect him to be a shutdown left tackle. I expect him to be serviceable, maybe above rapport. That's what he was. He was much better than I would have expected a left guard going from left guard to left tackle being. So that's hugely to him. And saying that, he was also graded as the 3rd best blocker on the Chiefs team on Sunday. Number 1 was my boy, Nick Allegretti. You guys remember me last year talking him up. I was a big believer in Nick Allegretti at left guard. Now, I didn't have any issues with bringing an all-pro left guard in to replace him and have him come off the bench. I think that's an ideal situation. But the fact that he could come off the bench and be as effective as a pass blocker, like, That's what it is. Like, he was a huge impact pass blocker. That's what he was. He was great in pass protection. Now, the defensive tackles for the Bengals aren't great. They're not the best. But they did try to confuse the offensive line a little bit. They attacked the right side, or the left side of the line, with more of the Trey Hendrickson and their better defensive tackles. So it was nice to see him being able to come off the bench. And not only was he good in pass protection, he was moving guys in the run game. He was an extremely effective run blocker, opening lanes, extremely effective as a puller too. Multiple times when you see him, I'm going to include this in my film review tomorrow, by the way. Multiple times you see him being pulled from left to right and kicking out a defensive end or a linebacker that comes in and getting real legitimate movement. A couple of these huge runs and one of the touchdowns they scored were directly impacted by Nick Allegretti taking a guy who was trying to set the edge and he just moved him out of the way. It's important, okay? They have the ability now to play a power run style. The offensive line is definitely more impactful as a power run team. But being able to run zone, being able to run gap power at the same time, and finding effectiveness in both is what makes the whole team be able to be dangerous even with some of your guys injured. Now, I'm not confident Mike Remmers is going to come back. We know that Lucas Niang is done for the rest of the season. Orlando Brown, pretty much the Chiefs' offensive line hinges on the calf strain of Orlando Brown Jr. If he can come back healthy, this offensive line will be fine. If they deal with any more injuries on the offensive line, they're going to be okay. Okay, I do believe that the depth right now is clearly being tested. If Orlando Brown doesn't play on Saturday, you're going to have some depth tested as well. Because if you do end up sustaining some injuries, you got Kyle Long and Prince Teo Winogo probably going to be active on Saturday, is my opinion, if Orlando Brown is not playing. We don't know either of those players. We've talked a little bit about it already this week, what they're going to be able to do. So the depth and the talent of this offensive line in the not just in the power game, but in the pass protection is going to be ultimately tested. You're going to have to face some very good pass rushers to get out of this division and get out of the playoffs and get into the Super Bowl. Joey Bosa is probably going to be your biggest bet going forward. I think that they're going to play them in the wild card round, and Joey Bosa is very good. They have a very good pass rush in LA down there in the Chargers. You're also going to have to figure if you end up seeing the Patriots if they end up getting in, if they go a little bit further. They always love to screw with offensive lines. So Bill Belichick's not one of those guys. Like, it's going to be, and even the pass rush from Tennessee, it's daunting that their front four is the best part of their defense. They've been very good in the run game and excellent getting after the passer of late. Bud Dupree's really coming along down the stretch. So the depth of this offensive line is going to be huge going forward. It's going to be one of the reasons whether they can get back to the Super Bowl, whether they don't. All of it, in my opinion, hinges on this offensive line. So huge props to Nick Allegretti coming off the bench and being not just a people mover in the run game, but being solid in pass protection and allowing Patrick Mahomes time to get to his second reads, get up in the pocket, move around a little bit. We saw a couple times where he was able to step up perfectly and into open space. Hugely important for his success going forward. So just wanted to give some guys that didn't get a whole lot of, touching on in terms of talking about them, talking points this week. And really, as the season's gone along, having those guys that can come off the bench and play important roles in like a Nick Allegretti, like your backup running backs in a Derrick Gore, Darrel Williams. It's huge. And Blake Bell coming along near the end of the season here, really hitting his stride as we go forward. So important. So if you guys want anything, you guys have any questions, make sure to hit me up in the comments. You can find me on Twitter at InHarmsWay19. And I'm going to give you guys a preview of what we're doing on Wednesday. The film review, I teased it a little bit on Twitter. So the reason that they're going to be able to win a Super Bowl, hinging on Orlando Brown's injury. We are doing an offensive line review, pass blocking, run blocking. We're going all the way through. Creed Humphrey's here. Trey Smith is here. We got Joe Tooney all over. Dude, we got everything from this game. The offensive line was stellar. It was great. They did such a good job all around in this game. So we're going to go all the way through that. And it's why I believe the Chiefs will get back to the Super Bowl, barring health, okay? You're obviously having some test issues right now with the depth, so hopefully they can stay healthy. Now, one thing I want you guys to put in the comment section today. Who is going to be a player that we don't talk a lot about, okay? much like this video. Who's a player we don't talk a lot about that's going to come up big for the Chiefs in the playoffs? Who's it going to be on offense or defense? It doesn't matter. Tell me who you think it's going to be, and tell me how the Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl. You guys have a great day. It's a good day to be a Chiefs fan.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.